But a few months ago, we started connecting the dots on something bigger. We weren't just hearing about budget cuts. There were significant restructuring, declining demand, shrinking requisitions, and more. So we dug a little bit deeper. And within a week, we uncovered over 100 instances of changes across nearly 100 programs. And these changes represented millions of dollars of cuts from budgets. And importantly, this wasn't isolated to any specific industry or program size. It was happening everywhere. After digging deeper, we identified four main drivers behind the shift. The first is general cost cutting. So some heads of UR received blanket mandates to cut costs. Sometimes this came with specific cut targets, sometimes just a number. And these were often triggered by mergers and acquisitions or similar business changes. And they often weren't just targeted to the early career space, they were often business wide. And they range from mandates to make minor cuts to full program eliminations. Second, there's a pillar of our group of our members who were just experiencing lower demand. Given lower demand, they need to resize their program accordingly. Sometimes this was viewed as a hangover effect, so they were hiring a tremendous amount of candidates in 2021, 2022, and now they were adjusting to that. And sometimes the changes were gradual, sometimes there's very sharp change in demand. Others were engaging in this cost-cutting dialogue because they saw the writing on the wall. This often enabled your leaders to be more strategic and position themselves as thought partners to the business, getting ahead of potential future cuts. And finally, we saw some members basically riding the market. So these were leaders that simply decided to use the movement for contraction and to do a little bit of ROI housekeeping. So even if they weren't getting any external pressure, they decided, hey, this is the time to make sure all of our business is in line. As we studied the drivers of change, one thing became clear. We're noticing a great shift or a great reset in university recruiting. We've observed a transition from what we started to call an era of possibility in the 2010s and 2020s to an era that now is defined by returns. So here's how we're seeing this play out. So the role of UR is shifting from long-term investments to more shorter-term productivity plays. So programs are being evaluated for their immediate contributions rather than their long-term potential.